So we'll get started. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I hope everyone's having a good holiday weekend, Labor Day weekend, and hope your summer has gone well. My name is Hugh Byrne, and I teach with the Insight Meditation Community Washington, IMCW, and within IMCW we have a community, the community of the Centre for Mindful Living, which used to be a physical space in Tenleytown, northwest DC, but with COVID, and we went online. But we're now we're doing more in-person sessions. I'll say at the end, mention at the end, we're having a Saturday class in Tenleytown at the Iona Centre. So I'll share more about that. That'll be a regular in-person class for those who want to, like to get together in person. So welcome. The class is sponsored by IMCW and the Centre for Mindful Living, and we're now, excuse me, I've got a little bit of a throat today. I used to teach the class every Sunday, but with a lot of other things going on, we now have a roster of teachers, and I normally teach the first Sunday of the month. So this is the first Sunday, and up till certainly the end of the year, I'll be teaching the first Sunday, and you'll be able to check on the calendar, the Centre for Mindful Living calendar, who's teaching on which Sundays. Welcome to our class today. For those who are new, the format is fairly straightforward. We typically begin with a meditation, a guided meditation, and for about 20 minutes or so. And then, if there's some movement, Kirsten is going to lead us today in some mindful movement, and then we'll have the talk for today. The theme of the class today is the wisdom of insecurity, cultivating what's called in Zen a don't know mind. Don't know mind. Some of you may be familiar, some maybe not so familiar with the don't know mind, also known as a beginner's mind. So talk more about that. As I mentioned, if anyone is joining for the first time, we'd love to hear from you and where you're joining us from, and to welcome you. It's a very welcoming community, and that's certainly the intention. And we want everyone who comes to feel fully welcome, and to be part of the community. So let's begin with a set period of meditation. And just as a few words of introduction, the meditation, when we sit, we're really consciously taking time and space to put aside, the to-dos and the responsibilities of our lives. And, as we all, in different ways, we'll experience being, kind of on our way somewhere, got to get things done, got all these responsibilities. And often easily we can kind of become somewhat disconnected from ourselves. We're kind of like on a treadmill or on autopilot. So it's a great gift to ourselves to just pause, to stop in the midst of our lives and just let the attention come inward. Lots of our attention is going outward, looking around, connecting, and all of this, projecting, planning, and just to kind of stop, turn inward, to really bring awareness to what's present in the body, in the heart, and the mind. And with an attitude really of kindness, of acceptance. And from that awareness, that mindfulness we call it, this conscious, non-judging awareness, out of that kind of sitting quietly can come insight, can come clarity, can come a sense of direction or intention. And we can really connect more fully with our lives. And there's a poem I like to share that kind of captures for me this kind of pausing and coming inward. It's Martha Postlethwaite's poem, Clearing. She says, "Do not try to save the whole world or do anything grandiose. Instead, create a clearing in the dense forest of your life and wait there patiently until the song that is yours alone to sing falls into your open, cupped hands and you recognize and greet it. Only then will you know how to give yourself to this world so worthy of rescue." So that sense of creating a space in the dense forest of our lives and just sitting quietly, waiting for whatever in the stillness and the silence and what may come out of that, being present with our experience. And then to be able to go back into the world, into our lives, perhaps with a more clarity, more kindness, more peace. So just let yourself settle, arrive, find a posture that's comfortable, relaxed. You could, if you're comfortable, you could let your eyes gently close, let your attention come inward. Inviting the shoulders to relax, letting the hands rest wherever is comfortable, in the lap or on your knees or on your thighs. Letting your attention drop down into the body, feel the contact of the body with the chair or the cushion beneath you, whatever the surface is beneath you. You might find it helpful to take a few longer, deeper breaths as a way of just settling into being here. Nice deep in-breath, filling the chest, filling the lungs. Then releasing, letting go on the out-breath. Breathing in, calming the body. Breathing out, calming the mind. Letting yourself arrive, just opening to whatever is present for you right now in the body and the heart and the mind. You might take a moment or two to just reflect on some things in your life that you feel grateful for. And we're often very focused on problems or things we need to do or things to solve, difficulties. We often forget all the gifts that we have in our lives. You might just think maybe loved ones, friends, maybe a measure of good health, the gifts of the natural world, the animals and the birds, the trees, the flowers, clean air, the sun and the moon and the stars. You might feel some gratitude for your spiritual practice, the teachings, community. So much that we have that we easily take for granted. Coming back to gratitude, we can gladden the mind, as the Buddha put it, gladdening the mind. And with an attitude of kindness and acceptance, just meet whatever is present for you right now. Whatever bodily feelings you're aware of, just let them come and go. Make space for whatever is here. Whatever mood or emotions are present right now, see if you can just make space for them too. There might be some heaviness or some sadness, maybe some confusion, perhaps some peace or joy. See if you can just allow whatever is here to be here, to come and go. And when thoughts come, just notice, let them come too, let them go, without following them or getting caught up in them. Just notice, thinking, come back, just welcoming whatever is present. The Sufi poet Rumi speaks of this being human as it's like a guest house. So just welcoming whoever comes, whatever comes, cultivating that attitude of welcoming. It says, welcome the guests, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. So inviting an attitude of welcoming and acceptance to whatever you're experiencing, so that nothing needs to be pushed away or rejected or resisted. You might find it helpful to just let your attention rest on your breathing, if that's comfortable to you, just of bringing awareness to your breath, just as it is, without changing it or controlling it, just aware of breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. You can use the breath as a kind of an anchor, just helping ground you in this moment. In breath and out breath. And any time you notice the mind has gone into planning, daydreaming, remembering, worrying, just gently, kindly let your attention come back to your breath. Come back to the body, come back to the breath. beginning again in any moment. Whatever's present for you right now, can this be a moment of peace, moment of ease? Poet Dorothy Hunt says, peace is this moment without judgment, this moment in the heart space where everything that is welcome. Peace is this moment without judgment, this moment in the heart space where everything that is welcome. How is it to say yes to whatever is present? To make the difficult the place where you pay attention, where you meet your experience with kindness. Beginning again in any moment, just here, this breath, this feeling. this sound. We'll finish with this poem by Diane Ackerman, School Prayer. In the name of the daybreak and the eyelids of morning, and the wayfaring moon, and the night when it departs, I swear I will not dishonour my soul with hatred, but offer myself humbly as a guardian of nature, as a healer of misery, as a messenger of wonder, as an architect of peace. In the name of the sun and its mirrors, and the day that embraces it, and the cloud veils drawn over it, and the uttermost night, and the male and the female, and the plants bursting with seed, and the crowning seasons of the firefly and the apple, I will honour all life, wherever and in whatever it may dwell, on earth my home, and in the mansions of the stars. You might take your time coming back into the group, opening your eyes, looking back. We'll have a few minutes. Kirsten will lead us in some mindful movement, and then we'll come back and have the talk and some sharing. I think, yeah. Thank you, Kirsten. Be right back.
Okay, good morning, everybody. That was lovely, huh? So go ahead and stand up. And if you can't stand up, just feel your feet in the earth. Bring your butt towards the edge of your chair. And let's just all, even everyone who's standing, just kind of shift back and forth into your feet so you can feel yourself back on the earth. We're just going to do a few breaths. So we're going to take our hands and breathe in. And then just breathe out, bringing the hands down in front. Breathing in. Breathing out. Breathing in. And breathing out. And take a moment, pause, just feeling those feet in the earth, allowing those shoulders to drop, and then we're going to raise our hands above our head. I'm going to take my left hand to my right wrist, and I'm going to press into my right foot and draw that arm up, and then lean over to the left. So let's open up that right side of the body. Really press into that right foot. Feel that length, opening those ribs, feeling that breath coming in and out. Beautiful, coming back to center, letting the arms come back down. Breathing in again, grabbing that left wrist, press into that left foot, and draw your body over towards the right. So opening the left side of the body. Breathe. Try to open that heart. Beautiful. Coming back to center. Bringing the arms back down. So let's go ahead and roll those shoulders back. Nice. And then roll them forward. Okay, so we're going to do eagle arms. We're going to open up the shoulders. So I'm going to bring the arms. Now, if you can't do the full thing, I'll walk you through it. I'm going to take my left elbow over my right elbow. Bring my hands together. Now, if your hands don't touch, you can just bring your hands to your shoulders. But try to grab your wrist. So eagle arms. So we're going to breathe in and draw up our elbows. And breathe out. Breathe in. Drawing the elbows up, nice and gentle. And breathing out. One more time, breathing in. And breathing out. And then we're just going to draw our left arm over towards the right. Just to get a nice little opening in the shoulders. Find your breath. Our shoulders can hold a lot of tension. So coming back to center and then releasing and just shaking out those arms just a little bit. Okay, so now it's right over left. So your right elbow over your left elbow. Then you're just going to draw your hands together. And like I said, if the hands don't come, you can just grab your shoulders. And then we're going to breathe in. And even with your hands here, you're going to breathe in and draw your elbows up. And breathe out. Breathing in. And breathing out. Breathing in. And breathing out. One more time. Breathing in as we come up. And breathing out. Beautiful. And then pausing, and you're just going to draw your right arm over to the left. So open up that right shoulder. Breathe. Beautiful. Come back to center and let those arms go. Nice. Okay, so now we open the front way, so we're going to open up the back. So we're going to grab our hands behind our back. And if you can't grab your hands, you can grab your shirt or your elbows, but maybe clasp your hands. Once again, feel your feet in the earth. Draw the spine nice and tall. Draw those elbows towards one another. Draw the hands down. Open that chest. And maybe get a bonus of a little crack in your back. And then relax those hands. Relax the shoulders. Find your breath. Feel your feet in the earth. And then draw those hands down again. Or drawing your shirt down. Drawing those hands out. Opening up. Beautiful. And release. Beautiful. So we're going to do a little cat-cow. Here, let me bring my camera down a little bit. So I'm going to bring my hands to the top of my knees. I'm going to bring my back flat. And I'm going to curl, breathing out. And then I'm going to go flat. So we're going to do a few of these cat-cows. Just to get into that lower back just a little bit. Feeling that tailbone curling up and curling back. Beautiful. And then you can either stay here, or if you like, just sliding those hands down the front of your legs, coming as far as you can down. Maybe pressing, maybe touching the floor. Coming back up and pausing at your shins. Press your hands into your shins. Draw your spine nice and long. And then come all the way up. Nice and slow. Hands up and overhead. Hands to heart. Okay, I'll leave it there. Thank you so much for your time and attention.
Thank you so much, Kirsten. That's lovely to certainly for me to get into the body and sometimes forget that we're stiff, and just really, really nice to get us stretched. So thank you so much for that, and welcome everyone. If anyone has joined us in the meantime since we began, welcome to you. And so we'll move into the talk today, and I give you a little bit of background, kind of leading into the talk. A few days ago, I was thinking about today's talk, and normally I'll have something that I'm kind of inspired by and I want to share and reflect on, and I've been teaching for about 25 years, so I have a lot of talks that I've given on lots of different things. But I found myself kind of reflecting this week of like, oh, what feels really would be helpful to share on at the class today, and I found myself kind of sitting with kind of not really being clear about what would be a good theme, a good because there are many things to talk about, but I felt I wanted to have some kind of sense of inspiration rather than just, oh yeah, here's a teaching on right speech, or here's a teaching on equanimity, or loving kindness, or whatever. So anyway, I meditated on it and I reflected on different themes, and nothing really felt kind of very alive or inspiring or particularly engaging. So I kept on sitting with it. What will I talk about on Sunday? And nothing really was coming up, and I wasn't particularly anxious or worried about it. I wasn't like, oh, I got it. Although I did kind of think, well, what if I have nothing to say? Well, maybe you just kind of play it by ear, And so I wasn't so much anxious. I was just curious about it. I was like, oh, maybe sometimes like, writers have writer's block, we kind of feel like, it didn't really feel like being blocked, but it just felt like, oh, there wasn't something kind of particularly inspiring coming up. And the more I kind of became curious about it, the more I became really interested in this state of really not knowing, not knowing what I was going to talk about, and rather than it being a problematical state of like, oh, I don't know, oh, this is bad, I don't know, it became more a fruitful state of mind, that I could bring curiosity to and rest in. And as I sat with this kind of not knowing, my mind began to feel more open and more spacious, rather than it being like, oh, this should be different than this. It was like, oh, this is what's here right now, and it's not knowing, and that was okay, even though I wasn't getting an answer. It was, oh, I need to talk about this, or I need to talk about. I wasn't getting an answer, but the actual place of not knowing was like a very interesting and very, felt pretty fruitful place to be reflecting on. And then the kind of the penny dropped. It was like, oh, this is don't know mind. This is don't know mind. And this kind of don't know mind has a very important role in the Buddha's teachings, and particularly in Zen Buddhism. And I've given talks before, on don't know mind and beginner's mind, but I didn't realize that was where, what I was coming to it in that way, rather than saying, oh, I'm going to give a talk on beginner's mind, the importance of beginner's mind. It was like not having the answer was itself the answer, kind of thing, which is kind of a Zen thing, as folks who know, familiar with Zen. It's like, oh, so it kind of like came through the back door through experience. And so it inspired me to talk about, oh, what I should talk about today is not knowing, is that there's that being in that place of not knowing, of don't know mind, of that, like, oh, I don't know. And so I want to kind of reflect on this today and maybe do a little bit of a practice with it. I begin by saying really that, knowing and thinking and all of the kinds of thinking that we do as human beings is a pretty amazing quality and skill that we have as humans. This quality of knowing, of analyzing, of planning, of comparing, of theorizing, learning from the past. This kind of thinking has allowed us to develop, great technologies and advanced civilizations and generate great wealth, helped us to live longer and healthier lives than people 100 years ago or 1,000 years ago. Obviously, the benefits have been distributed enormously unequally, unjustly and unfairly. But nonetheless, there's great benefits from this knowing, this kind of sense of, okay, we know this, the great understandings, that have come from science, about gravity and about the Earth and the planets and the solar system and all of that. And it's great that we know all of these things, but the biggest questions of life, we could say, really remain mysterious. They remain unknown, maybe unknowable. What is the meaning and purpose of life? Why are we here? Now, we can theorize about it and we can have beliefs about it, and different people, God made us and, all this kind of, but those really are beliefs rather than something that we know, we know in a sense of, truly knowing. Some of the most important areas of life we just don't know about. We really don't know when we're going to die. We don't know, typically we don't know how we're going to die. We don't know, we might have theories. We don't know what happens to us when we do die. We might have theories again, and we might have beliefs about, when I go to heaven, when I die, I'll, go to meet my maker or whatever it is. But that's a belief. It's not really a knowing. And we don't even know what's going to happen in 5 minutes. We might be here and I might be talking and, having this class and, it's a kind of regular thing and, this happens. But, who knows? The internet might go out. We might lose power. We don't know what's going to happen in a minute or 5 minutes. We can be, we can have a good idea about things, but, well, all things being equal, we're probably going to be able to have a class today without, an earthquake or a volcano or the internet going out or whatever. But we really don't know. We don't know how the elections in 64 or 5 days are going to unfold. We don't know that, do we? We might have hopes. We might be working hard for one thing or another. We really don't know. There's so much that we don't know. And this really is the heart of the Buddha's teachings and other wisdom teachings too. Life is continually changing and uncertain. And our search for certainty, for permanence, we often we want to take care of things, and it, up to a point, is quite wise to do that. So quite wise to put away money for retirement. We don't even know if we're going to be around, but it makes sense because there's a good chance we will be, and we want to be able to live a reasonable life when we're retired. when we create situations that will be as favorable as we can. But in the end, our search for certainty, for permanence, is going to be a quixotic one. It's going to be one that's unreliable. We don't know. We don't know how things are going to be, because everything changes. Everything comes to an end. And if we think that we can make, we can guarantee, I'm going to be all right, or my family's going to be all right. If we hold on to anything, then we're going to suffer. As the Buddha said, nothing whatsoever should be clung to as I or mine. When we try and hold on to anything, it's going to lead to suffering, because everything will change. Everything will dissolve. Civilizations end. The sun itself will, in 5 billion years, will, as the scientific predictions are, will flame out, and we won't have our solar system as it is anymore. But everything will change. And so a wise approach to this change, to impermanence, to uncertainty, is really to embrace it, to recognize that it is really the foundation of everything. Not knowing, uncertainty, change is the nature of things. So rather than trying to fight that and trying to make things permanent, I'm going to hold on to, what I have. I'm going to make things the way I want them to. It's much wiser, much more helpful to us, much more conducive to happiness, to well-being, to freedom, to actually acknowledge that this change is how things are. Getting older, getting sick, dying, rather than being problematical, can be, this is what life, this is part of life. This is how things are. This is the way it is for everybody. There's a lovely poem from William Blake, Eternity, who says, "He who binds to himself a joy does the winged life destroy. But he who kisses the joy as it flies lives in eternity's sunrise." So to try and hold on to a joy, trying to hold on to a feeling, trying to hold on to anything, actually, as Blake says, kind of destroys it, because it can't be held, and we're making it into something different. We're making it into something solid, rather than something that's fluid and continuously changing. But if we can, as he says, kiss the joy as it flies, then that's a path to genuine happiness and to genuine freedom. Lives in eternity's sunrise. There's a famous line from Buddha, or the Buddha's teachings of thus will you think on all of this changing world, a star at dawn, a bubble in a stream, a flash of lightning in a thundercloud, something, a phantom and a dream. Everything is just comes and goes like fireflies, some light and then it's gone. For us it's a longer period, but it's coming and going. It's impermanent, it's changing. And if we can come into a wise relationship with change, then our relationship with life and our happiness and our well-being is changed, is transformed. Some of you may be familiar with Alan Watts, who was a kind of a maverick Zen teacher who died He reveals a lot of different things. He died in the 70s, I think, and he has a book called The Wisdom of Insecurity. The Wisdom of Insecurity. And what he's getting at there is, finding peace in the not knowing, in not knowing. We think we'll be happy if we know more. Oh, got to solve this, got to work this thing out, and then everything will be okay. But can we be at peace with not knowing? Can we be at peace with impermanence and with change? So we can actually cultivate a mind, a don't know mind, where we sit with not knowing. And this really opens us up the potential that isn't present when we think we know the answers, or that the answers to our questions or our problems can be solved through thinking. There's something very fruitful and very liberating in resting in not knowing. In another term for don't know mind is beginner's mind. Approaching our experience with a quality and attitude of curiosity, of openness, even of innocence. Suzuki Roshi, the great Zen teacher, said, "In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In the expert's, there are few." In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In the expert's, there are few. So if we have an open mind, that mind of a beginner, of just like curious, interested, then all sorts of possibilities open up. I think about, a child, like a baby learning to walk, and I've had a lot of babies in my life, being the second of 9 children and having kids and having grandkids. And there's a kind of a sense of wonder, I kind of remember it a lot of like when they're learning to just standing up and walking. And it's like, there's, it's almost like, a step and then, oh, wow, I've done it. And then another one, and then falling over and that being okay. And it's not a problem. And then getting up again. That sense of possibility, there's not like, if you're an adult learning to walk, it's like, oh, you try and then it doesn't work. Oh no, I can't do this. Walking's not for me. But the baby is like, it's just like, you're just like, it's just natural and it's exploratory, but without concepts, without theories and without judgment or comparison. Oh, how's that baby over there doing? It's kind of like, oh, and in a sense, kind of this beginner's mind, this openness is really a quality, a spiritual quality that that is very freeing, that can really help free us from suffering. It's a beginner's mind, a don't know mind is not knowing and being open to learning, to curiosity, to inquiry. When we're free of preconceptions or what we think we already know, there's a lot of space to kind of be open to, oh, that's a new possibility. You think of just, the way we get habituated to do things in a particular way. If we're going from A to B, we always go this way. We're familiar with it. But then if we were to take another route, probably we'd see things. We don't have to do it all the time, but we'd probably see things that, oh, I didn't know about this. I didn't, things open up But if we're just kind of in our fixed view, this is how I do things, then there's very little space, as Suzuki Roshi says, in the mind of the experts, there's few possibilities, because it's like the cup is already filled. There's no room for new information to come in. Think of the way we might go into a conversation with somebody where there's been, maybe a difficult history with them, or we have differences of opinion with them. Very easily we can go into a conversation, I'm going to have to talk with this person, and we might be in a space of like, oh, I know what they're going to say. They always do this. And in having that kind of preconception, that sense of thinking we already know, we're not really, there's no space to kind of allow them to be different, to be really who they are, if we've already kind of put them in that box. That sense of knowing, that we often live with and in, can be very limiting, I think. Very limiting. And there's a sense of possibility in opening to not knowing. So with a don't know mind, with a beginner's mind, we're seeing things as they're actually appearing, rather than through a mental conception of things. I invite you right now to just think about your breath. Just think about breathing. What comes up for you when you think about breathing? And now, just experience your breath. Experience the sensations of breathing in, breathing out. There's so many things you might notice, maybe some tension, maybe coolness in the nostrils or warmth, maybe a sense of expansion and contraction, all sorts of direct experiences, that can come and that can change, which I think are very different from the concept, the idea or the story we might have about the breath. So this beginner's mind or don't know mind is a mind really free from preconceived notions and expectations about what will happen or what should happen. Much of our suffering comes from, not from our direct experience, but from kind of the difference between how things are and how we think they should be. I'm feeling this, but I want to feel something else. I'm feeling annoyed at this person, but I don't want to feel this. I don't want them to be here. I don't want to have anything to do with them. I want something different than I have. But if we can just come back and just be with our experience as it is, experience things as they are without our expectations causing us disappointment, be open to this moment just as it is. Just invite us to pause again for a minute. You can just, if you like, you can close your eyes. You might bring to mind something that feels difficult for you right now, if there is anything. Any situation in your life or relationship with somebody, or a concern about how things are going to go in work or in some other area of your life. Anything where there might be just some struggle or some conflict or uncertainty or confusion. It might bring awareness to that area or that situation, that experience. And just notice what comes up. And see if any thoughts come up about it. Just invite whatever comes up. Just this, don't know. I don't know. How is it to bring don't know to this situation, this experience? If nothing particular comes up, just inviting a state of mind of not knowing. Whatever thought comes up, see if you could add to it, I don't know. I don't know. Inviting this quality of openness to whatever's arising, whatever's coming up for you. The sense of don't know. A thought might come up about a situation or something that's going to happen. You might think it's not going to go well. And just drop in, I don't know. Don't know. See if you can just rest in not knowing. Not knowing and just being open to whatever comes up, the changing flow of experience, bodily feelings, emotions. If the mind tries to kind of give an interpretation, simply know, I don't know. This attitude of curiosity, of openness. Without knowing what's coming next or what's going to happen. How is it to rest in this beginner's mind, this don't know mind? When you're ready, you can kind of open your eyes, come back. Can we be at peace in this don't know mind, not knowing? A share of something from Gil Fronsdal, who teaches out in the West Coast at Spirit Rock. It says, often people are anxious to find the ultimate meaning of life or understand what happens in death because they're afraid of the unknown. They may look to religion for answers. Buddhism at its heart is not about answering these questions, but about resolving the fear that motivates the questions. Rather than providing security through religious knowing, Buddhist practice calls on us to become free from attachment to security, free from the need to know. And he quotes Suzuki Roshi again. He says, Gil says, but lest we take the not knowing practice too far, Suzuki Roshi said, not knowing doesn't mean you don't know. It's a very Zen thing. Not knowing doesn't mean you don't know. It doesn't require us to forget everything we've known or to suspend all interpretations of a situation. Not knowing means not being limited by what we know, holding what we know lightly so that we're ready for it to be different. So just kind of invite you to reflect on your own relationship to knowing and not knowing. You know, there's definitely a very important role for knowing. You know, the essence of the teachings are about knowing and knowing deeply. You know, knowing, particularly in the Buddhist teachings, knowing suffering, knowing the cause of suffering, knowing the end of suffering, the potential for ending suffering in our lives, and knowing that there is a path to the end of suffering, that there's a skillful training and practices that can lead us to the end of suffering. So knowing, awakening is deep knowing, is deep insight, deep awareness. And not knowing, don't know, is really the don't know mind, is the ability to sit with uncertainty, sit in the midst of uncertainty, because that is the nature of life, to be uncertain, to change, and to find peace in the midst of uncertainty. And when we can find peace in the midst of uncertainty, it can lead us to deep insight. It can lead us to letting go, that we don't need to hold on to the things that we think we need to be happy. You know, I need this, I need more of that, I need to know this, I need this to change. But we can rest in life as change, life as impermanent. Find peace in the midst of everything. Peace in the midst of difficulties. So cultivating this quality of openness, quality of not knowing, not being attached to knowing, can be a profound practice, a really powerful practice to help us to let go, to help us to find freedom from suffering. So I'll pause there and maybe invite some thoughts, some questions, some sharing from folks. We've got a little bit of time here. I think I can share my screen here. Share screen. Yeah, share. There we go. Share. Just to give you a sense, I think you can see that, yeah? beginning on the 7th, and it'll be changing teachers, and it'll be at Iona Senior Services, which is just 100 yards from Tenleytown Metro Station on the Red Line in DC. Begins on September 7th. Similar, same time as the Sunday class, 10:30 to 12. The Regina and Michelle will be doing the first class. So you can go to the Center for Mindful Living and you can find info on that and the teachers and when things are happening. So that'll be great for to have that in-person option. I know many folks miss it, and so we'll have both of the in-person and the online. Also mention, if any of you are looking for a weekend workshop retreat, my partner Rebecca and I are teaching up at Kripalu in Western Mass in Stockbridge in 2 weekends from now, the 13th to the 15th, a weekend of mindfulness, loving kindness, and poetry. If you're interested, just send me an email and I'll give you the details on that. Also mention that all of these classes, there's no cost for joining the class. If you would like to, you can make a donation, and I think Heather has put up the ways you can do that in the chat. And as I say each time, that it's a tradition of generosity. Dana, D-A-N-A, generosity, that is the way the teachings have come down to us through 2,500 years, 100 generations through the practice of generosity. So if you're inclined to make a donation, that's there in the chat, higher up in there. So thank you for your support.